Last night was not fun if you are a New York Knicks fan. Now, if you're a Boston Celtics fan, you definitely enjoyed what happened on opening night. I thought, and we all probably thought in some way, shape, or form, these were going to be the two best teams in the Eastern Conference. If you didn't think it was going to be the New York Knicks, you definitely thought the Boston Celtics were the top team, and the Knicks were at least a respectable team. Well, last night was not a respectable performance whatsoever from the New York Knicks as the Boston Celtics defeated the Knicks on opening night, their ring ceremony, 132-109. As a Knicks fan, just for the first game of the year, I have a lot that I want to talk about this game. We also saw the Lakers defeat the Minnesota Timberwolves on opening night as well. We'll get to that a little bit later. So yeah, there was a lot to talk about from the Celtics-Knicks game. I think a lot of things before the game started, people were talking about Mikal Bridges' jump shot. It wasn't good in the preseason whatsoever. He was 2 of 19 from downtown in the preseason. The form looks a little bit different. It looks wonky, I can't lie. It looks a little bit awkward, and he got off to a pretty rough start. He was 0 for 4 to start off this game. He was a -16 as the Celtics dominated pretty much this whole game. In the first quarter, it was all Boston as they tied the NBA three-point record with 29 made threes. Yeah, they didn't they didn't make a single one throughout their final 11 attempts, but they were just not missing whatsoever. And there's a lot to talk about from this game. I don't think we need to overreact too much though, since it's game 1 out of 82. These two teams have 81 more games left, and for the Celtics, they took care of business. They were the best team in the NBA last year, won it all, returned most of their core, and they ended up dominating the Knicks on opening night without Kristaps Porzingis. So yeah, this was a debut game for Mikal Bridges and Karl-Anthony Towns, and I just want to give credit to pretty much Joe Mazzulla and the Boston Celtics. We'll get into their three-point shooting performance in a second, but the way they defended Karl-Anthony Towns, I thought they did a phenomenal job. They were forcing Cat to post up because they were switching Drew Holiday on him. And when you're a big man like Cat and you have a smaller man on Drew Holiday, you were going to want to post him up instead of taking a three-point shot. Now, the Celtics liked their odds of Cat in the post better than they did of him on the perimeter, and the stats back that up as well. So I thought they did a phenomenal job switching on to Karl-Anthony Towns, forcing him to post up where he was not getting the best looks in the world compared to what he may have gone on the perimeter. Jalen Brunson played very solid for the Knicks. He was 9 of 14 from the field, knocked down 22 points, but it wasn't his best game by any means, but at least he was efficient on the offensive side of the floor. For Miles McBride, he was the best Knick in this game, which is probably not what you want. He had 22 points off the bench, 8 of 10 from the field, 4 of 5 from 3. His shot looks so smooth, and the Knicks desperately need somebody like Miles McBride to take another step this year to show that he could be a sixth man or maybe even start for them going forward, because it was not great from the starting five whatsoever. It got off to a good start though. The paint looked wide open for Jalen Brunson and OG Anunoby and those guys because they were able to go 5 out, but then just Boston was able to get that paint a little bit more crowded. OG Anunoby didn't have the greatest game in the world. I mean, he did not have a good game really whatsoever. He just looked disappearing out there. It's kind of like when you watch Tobias Harris and you're like, oh, that's a $40 million man. I haven't heard of his name in a little bit in this game. That's how OG Anunoby felt. He went 1 of 7 from the field, 0 of 4 from 3, minus 21 on the floor. Did not even look like he wanted to be out there in the fourth quarter whatsoever. And the thing with the Knicks, though, that I think people are going to overreact on is going to say their defense was horrible. And it wasn't good, right? You give up 132 points. That is not a good defensive performance, especially under your defensive-minded head coach in Tom Thibodeau. But these Boston threes, man, I don't think there was anything you could do. Jason Tatum was 8 of 11 from 3. And most of these Tatum threes, not all of them, were fairly contested. But Jason Tatum, the man who didn't play in the Olympics because of his inconsistent shot, his inconsistent shot in the playoffs last year did not carry over to game 1. He looks like a completely different man. 14 of 18 from the field, 8 of 11 from three-point range, 37 points, 10 assists for Jason Tatum as well. Unreal job as a playmaker. Al Horford was 3 of 5 from downtown. Drew Holiday was 4 of 6. Derek White was 6 of 10. Jaylen Brown was 5 of 9. So their starting 5 went 26 for 41 from 3, 63% from downtown for the starting 5. You really can't make that up whatsoever. Oh man, they just were not missing, and Boston just looked like a completely different team than the Knicks. And both these teams want to go to the NBA Finals, and one team actually looks like a Finals contender rather than the Knicks, who didn't really look like that on opening night. And what's crazy is the Celtics still have a 7-foot unicorn that's an elite rim protector, an elite three-point shooter that can even space this floor even more for them. That's not coming back. at least till January or February, or at least for a little bit, in Kristaps Porzingis. So this Boston team is going to get better. Al Horford is 38 years old, and this guy is still such a smart player. He knows where to be on the floor. He's getting rebounds. He's hitting threes. This Boston team is great. Now, this bench, I still think will have its issues down the line. Boston is not going to shoot like this in every game. But man, you could not have asked for a better start to the season for the Boston Celtics, who look so much better than the Knicks right now. And I do wonder if Tibbs is going to make some type of lineup adjustments for their second game of the year against the Indiana Pacers. Do they think about the idea of Josh Hart to the bench and Miles McBride into the starting five? Just because Boston was also doing a great job guarding Josh Hart. When Drew Holiday was guarding Karl-Anthony Towns, they would put Al Horford on Josh Hart, and Al Horford was just letting Josh Hart shoot, who was 0 for 2 from 3. And if he's not hitting him, Josh Hart kind of gets out of his rhythm, and he's not going to have the confidence to really pull up in these catch and shoot threes or these off the dribble threes where he's basically wide open, but he doesn't want to shoot them. I mean, Mikal wasn't hitting his threes, OG wasn't hitting his threes, and I wonder if Tibbs would go to Miles McBride at the shooting guard spot, because McBride can hold his own defensively. I'm not worried about McBride guarding Tyrese Halliburton. Maybe even wouldn't be Halliburton. Maybe it would be Andrew Nembhard, or it's going to be Benedict Mathurin against Indiana. So maybe they would go to that just to have the optimal floor spacing 5 out there. But you are going to be sacrificing rebounding, and that's what this Knicks team looks different on opening night, because last year with Randall, with DiVincenzo, with Hartenstein, these guys are hustling. They are crashing the offensive glass, and they were one of the best offensive rebounding teams in the NBA. Tonight, they were not a good offensive rebounding team whatsoever. They had 5 total offensive rebounds compared to Boston's 11. So there was no opportunity really for second chance points for the Knicks, where they were making a lot of their money last year, and that was keeping them in games. That was extending leads because of guys like Harden and DiVincenzo just crashing the glass on the perimeter. So I don't know if OG needs to step up in that role, or Mikal Bridges, or maybe that's going to be McBride or somebody else that they need to step up, because yeah, it just didn't really look like this team wanted to win maybe after the first quarter. But I think they were also put in a bad spot because they both tied 31 points in the second quarter. It was even there, but Boston outscored them 43-24 in the first quarter because they couldn't stop the 3-ball, and Boston was just getting to half court. They were working the pick and roll to affection, and the moment they got a little bit of space, they were pulling the trigger there, and these guys were knocking down their threes. Every time White, Holiday, Brown, Tatum, or Horford took a 3-point shot, I'm like, all right, there's a very good chance that this is going in. And it happened. Sometimes you're like, all right, they got to enter into a cold spell. They never did. Boston pulled away. They dominated night one. Everybody wanted to clown Mikal Bridges because of the jump shot. I totally get that, but I think he had a better game than OG Anunoby. I would have liked Cat to be a little bit more impactful, especially on the defensive end of the floor, because I think he has that potential. And I hope Tibbs will get him in shape into the system over the course of the season, because, like I said, it's a long season. I'm not going to make any overreactions after night one, but I think Cat needs to do a better job navigating ball screens as a defender and realizing when to hedge, when to get up on the perimeter, or when to drop back into coverage, because I think he did a poor job against the best team in the NBA last night. If the Knicks played like this against the Brooklyn Nets, I think I'd be a little bit more worried, or maybe a team like the Portland Trailblazers, but they played the best team in the NBA from last year's season and a lot of people's finals picks for this upcoming season. So yeah, I don't think I'm going to make any overreactions too much from this game. But it was not fun as a Knicks fan when you get Mikal Bridges and Karl-Anthony Towns and you're so excited for opening night and then your team gets blown out by 23 points. But hey, props to Boston. They look miles better of New York. The Knicks are going to have to get together their defense, their offensive rebounding, and their just overall flow on the offensive end of the floor over the next 81 games. But thankfully, this is a long season, and I still think they're going to be fine. As for the second game, you have the LA Lakers and the Minnesota Timberwolves. The LA Lakers beat the Minnesota Timberwolves 110-103 here at the Crypto.com Arena. The Lakers were home. The massive story here was we were going to see Bronny James play with his dad, LeBron. They both check in the second quarter. After LeBron fell with Jaden McDaniels, and I thought he was injured. Now I wonder if he just came out of the game so he can get the photo op of him coming in with Bronny. But you know what? I think it's a super cool story. When they checked in together, you're realizing, okay, this is really cool. This is him and his son. And then when they're running the pick and roll together, you're like, holy crap, like that's him and his dad. I mean, it would be a little bit cooler if Bronny maybe knocked down a shot because he missed both his shots. One of them was like a tip in, and I think Gobert blocked it, but he did miss his open 3-point shot. But either way, it was a really cool story, and the Lakers got the win, so they're definitely going to be able to avoid some backlash, because if they lost this game, and I think Bronny was like he was a -5 in his 3 minutes, they would have gotten a little bit more hate. But hey, Anthony Davis dominated Rudy Gobert, something we have seen multiple times throughout the course of these two players' careers. How about Rui Hashimura having a fantastic game, was a team high plus 19. He had 18 points and he looked aggressive. And are we going to get like an aggressive Rui Hashimura this year? That could be an X factor for the Lakers. And he saw the mismatch that normally wouldn't be a mismatch. Julius Randle is a physical dude, but he's coming off a major shoulder injury from last year, barely played in the preseason, is on a completely new team, and he saw the opportunity to attack Julius Randle, who was a +2 in this game. But honestly, I don't really think Randle had a good game. I think there were times where he turned the ball over. There was that terrible pass where he passed it out on the perimeter, and then he's just kind of jogging back on the defensive end of the floor. And that was something that Knicks fans got used to, and realized that is going to be something you're going to have to deal with in Randle's game. Anthony Edwards' three-point shot, I wanted to note, looks so smooth right now. I think that's something he's done an incredible job working on in his career. He was 5 of 13 from downtown, but a lot of these were off multiple dribble moves, pull up, man in his face, and he was still knocking them down. They looked super clean. And yeah, Minnesota, like the Knicks, they're going to have to figure out this team's identity. They have a lot of new faces, at least that are going to get notable minutes in Julius Randle, who played 34 minutes last night, and Dante DiVincenzo, who played 32 minutes. And I was surprised that Joe Ingles got into this game over like Terrence Shannon Jr. or maybe like a Rob Dillingham. Like those guys didn't play, but Joe Ingles did, although it was only for 7 minutes. So then this team was kind of operating out of a 8-man rotation. Jaden McDaniels got into foul trouble too, so he couldn't really be as effective as you would like for Minnesota to be out there. And someone's going to have to be the Karl-Anthony Towns to Anthony Edwards. Is that going to be Randle? Is that going to be a year 5 jump from Jaden McDaniels? Is it going to be, like Naz Reid from last year? Is it going to be DiVincenzo? Somebody needs to step up next to Anthony Edwards, because there were times where nobody was really getting their offensive rhythm going, and it was all Ant. DiVincenzo did not have a good shooting game. There's obviously the limitation with Rudy Gobert as an offensive player inside, so you really can't count on him to be your secondary shot creator to Anthony Edwards. And a note on it, Rudy Gobert, he opted out of his player option for next year, re-signed a 3-year deal with Minnesota, which is going to help them out with the second apron and the luxury tax, and they should now be able to afford to give Naz Reid even more money when that time comes. But yeah, I think this was definitely a little bit disappointing performance for the Timberwolves. I predicted the Celtics and the Lakers were going to win last night. I was 2-0 to start off the year. Hey, I'll take it. I missed out on my underdog parlays, but that's okay. As I think this Lakers team looks good. I mean, under JJ Redick, I think he did a good job opening night. They didn't turn the ball over a ton. They were crashing the offensive glass. They had 15 offensive rebounds, and I thought the Lakers did a great job on that. I really like Dalton Connect on this team. Jackson Hayes showed life and aggressiveness, and somebody that can be able to roll to the rim, get alley-oops, block shots inside, and I think that could be a huge backup big man for the Lakers, because there was always talks, could they get Nick Richards, could they get this guy? Maybe that's going to be Jackson Hayes, and maybe his development wasn't going to be linear in this league. When he came out of Texas, he did not have good years to start off his career, and maybe this could be the year for the Lakers. Maybe last year he was trying to get it going with the Lakers, didn't play too much every night, but he could be a legitimate backup center for them, and that could be huge, because maybe this is going to be an elite Anthony Davis year. LeBron had 16 points. He still looks absolutely incredible for somebody of his age, but I would be very excited if we're going to get maybe the best year of Anthony Davis's career if he could stay healthy. He played 38 minutes last night, which is a lot to start off the year for Anthony Davis, coming off the most amount of games he played last year. But man, did he look like the best player on the floor. He had 36 points. He had 16 rebounds on opening night. That is an incredible performance. 3 blocks. He looked like the elite rim protector there, and looked like he's a top 5 player in the NBA. And as long as he can stay healthy, I think we're going to get maybe the best year of Anthony Davis's career this year, which I think JJ Redick is definitely going to utilize. Maybe he's going to see what he played with in Orlando with Dwight Howard, or maybe some of the good big men he's played with in the past, like Joel Embiid in Philadelphia, and he can get that out of Anthony Davis this year. And maybe we're going to get Anthony Davis MVP votes for the most he's had in maybe his Lakers career, which would be pretty cool. So yeah, those are my thoughts and reactions from opening night. I hope you guys did enjoy this. Let me know what you guys think of night 1. Obviously, it's a super long season. We got 81 games left for all 4 of these teams, and 82 games left for 26 other teams. So long season. I don't want to make any overreactions, but those were just my thoughts from opening night. Let me know what you guys think in the YouTube comments. And if you're listening on the audio versions of this, always appreciate a rating and review. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.